So, what made you want to be a trial lawyer? Like, was there a specific moment in time that you said, this was it, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, the it's hard to say one thing that made me become a trial lawyer. I look back at my life and I see that I always had this passion for justice. I had it went to my core that I was offended and hurt when there was injustice in any all regards, and but I never thought I was good at standing up or speaking on my feet or speaking spontaneously. There was never anything that I saw I had a talent from before becoming a trial lawyer. Now I guess I have some talent in it, and um, and it was sometime during law school that it was a trial ad program, far less involved then as they have now. And I stood up and I loved it. I loved being there. I loved the feeling of fighting for somebody. I loved being the voice for somebody who was injured and hurt, and I could actually change their lives. And it was from that moment I didn't know what area I wanted to do trial law, but I knew I wanted to do trial law.
After you graduated law school, how did your career go? Were you were you working straight out of law school, or did you work the DA's office? Like, how did that happen?
Well, this is kind of a very short answer to your question of what happened to my career. What was steps, I guess, of my career from law school thereafter. I am at my first job. This is my first job. I was hired at what was then Kramer Doloff, Tessel, Duffy, and Moore, and plaintiff's firm that did far more medical malpractice. It was probably about 85% malpractice. Now we're much more general negligence too, uh, of all kinds. But I was hired as the assistant to the office manager, lawyer office manager, and but I broke out of that really quickly and started trying cases within a few years. So I'm here. This is it. Different surroundings, different office space, but one firm.
Um, is there anything that you wish you would have known as a younger female trial lawyer than that you know now?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's probably a lot of those lessons I'm sure that we all have, and so the question is, if I look back, I think, if and correct me, Victoria, if I look back, and what would have made it easier in a way to know then that I know now, and I think the answer of what I wish I knew then was to go easier on myself. And none of us, as we're starting out and we have ambitions and we want to do the right thing, none of us thinks that there's this really long learning curve, and that trying cases is not something you just learn in a minute. You have to keep working it and working it, and a great cross-examination that you do, say, in year two of trying cases, you might look at back at it in year five and say, "Oh my gosh, I missed so many opportunities. I could have done it so much better." And then you think you do it then, and then you look back in year 10, and it's like, I was such an amateur then. I was like such a baby trialer, and and I think that applies to so much in every aspect of personal injury law, and that is, it is a really, and I say this to new associates that we have and younger lawyers all the time, it's a very long learning curve. So go easy on yourself, give yourself time, know that you are going to be better later on, but you could still, you have all these great attributes now when you're at whatever stage that you can utilize and work with, and then just keep developing. So it's kind of that idea that I look back on.
That's also part of our drive to continuously improve our skills. Like, I don't think that we ever stop trying to improve. And that's why we do what we do, because I think that it's just part of our nature to always be better.
Oh, I agree with you so much. I was even, I'll just give you an example. You always keep trying to learn, right? And I read this book on preparing witnesses the other day, and and I said, what great idea, and preparing yourself too, actually. And I'm saying, these are such great ideas. And I've been doing this for decades. And I should have been doing it the way this book suggests. And now we'll try that and see if that works and go forward from there. But that's something that happens all the time. Go to lectures, go to NYSTLA lectures. You learn so much.
Right. And I think it's, what you said earlier also, that, we can't be someone else. We have to find the right way for me particularly, you particularly, how to get that question out, how to, approach a jury and talk to them and get them to relate to you, because you have to be real and genuine, and you just have to figure out how to do that and portray that to a jury in the courtroom.
That's so
Um,
true.
has there been any particularly challenging case that you've had that that comes to mind, and if you could tell us how you overcame those challenges?
Oh yeah, gosh. There's, I guess, the advantage of doing this for a long time and trying a lot of cases is there's a long list of those. That I could think of a case by the name of Friedlander up in Kingston, New York, and all I heard for every time there was a conference on a case, and every time there was any discussion, and every time we were before a judge or the judge, all I heard throughout was, "No, there's been no plaintiff's verdicts up here for years now, and in medical malpractice, and yours is not going to be the first." Um, and it's a tough place to convince a jury, and then the jury was out for about it was a wrongful death case of a veterinarian in a short period of time in a hospital up there, and jury had a verdict in 45 minutes, and I thought, that's it. And it was they answered about 38 questions in 45 minutes, and all for my client, and things like that. You look back and you think of the good you've done, and your clients have so many challenges to overcome, and then they all become your challenges to overcome in the courtroom. So,
Have you, like, in your career, have you seen changes for women trial lawyers?
oh yeah, absolutely. I don't want to resort to the uh, commonly said story about women in the early days of, and I guess I was there in the early days, of going in the courtroom, and it was like, where's your steno machine? But actually, those things happen, and judges, because I was a kid then. Judges sometimes, not all, and most of them were terrific, but every once in a while you get this judge who would take this kind of paternalistic attitude towards me and try to tell me how to try a case or what to do, and if you didn't follow it, they then um, they then take the reverse and try to do everything to punish you as a lawyer. And those things actually happened in the 80s and the 90s, and it's pretty extraordinary to sit here now and think that's what was still happening then. It's entirely different. I think as a woman trying cases, that we've made, we're I do believe actually we're on completely equal standing.
I think that also the bench perspective has changed on women trying cases. Just the young, I don't want the fact that the women are now on the bench. They're judges who are not women, see women as completely capable. So I think that also is a perspective. But I do think that there is a lot of fear on the defense's part when they see a woman coming into the courtroom to try a case, because I don't think that there are many of us doing it, and they just don't know how to handle us, if I have to be quite frank. So I think it's a good thing. I think we should, use that to our advantage, because we're not anything of what they're used to.
Right. Well, if I agree that to this day, and it's shocking to me that there are not as many women trying cases still, and also that so many of the men who try cases still don't know how to handle you, Victoria, when you come into the courtroom, or so many other women. And I think, well, I guess that's their problem. we could
But
give away our secrets, but if you have to be a fair adversary, you have to be a fair person, you have to maintain your honesty, you have to know your case and your records, you have to have truth and veracity at all times, and fight really hard for your client. And if you do those things, then doesn't matter who you're against.
so you're a wife, you're a mom, you're a trial lawyer, you're a partner in a firm, and you do this on an everyday basis. And yet you and I walk around and we don't see many women choosing this path. And
Yeah.
I ask many women why it is, young women, why it is that they don't choose walking into the courtroom and trying the case. They will choose working, in litigation firms, but they're not walking into the courtroom. So I've gotten various responses, but I would love to know why you think that is.
I think that women have shied away from the courtroom or walked away from the courtroom. Shied away, I guess, never entered, and walked away, tried it, because those of us who do it know that it is a very rough, hard road that we travel. It is, the work is enormous. The time that it takes can't be, you can't cheat the time it takes to know a case properly. And it's really hard to do it all. Yeah, okay, you did it all. I did it all. Most of the time, I think I succeeded, and some of the time, I'm sure it was a tough choice, and I made the wrong one. It's hard. It's hard having. I have 3 kids. They're all adults now. But it's hard when they're all climbing all over you, which they would do, and need your attention, and yet you have a cross-examination to complete. It's hard, and there's no way you can compromise on either part of it. The kids, as an example, or your house, or your spouse, or your significant other, or your pets. They all need your time and attention, and it's tough. You need a very supporting person that you're with if you have a significant other in your life, and then you just have to really give up all your time for yourself. As I used to always say when my kids were little, is when they say, well, when do you have any time yourself? I would calculate how many years till my youngest went off to college, and I figured that's when I'd start to have some time, but I don't know, it still hasn't happened.
Um, so what words of encouragement would you give to a young lawyer who's thinking about doing it all, having the family, having the kids, having the trial career?
Yeah. Um, it well, beyond saying it's hard and to make sure you want to do it, the to do what we do, to take someone whose life has been destroyed and be able to represent them in the courtroom, to be able to be the voice for them, to be able to in the only way the law allows, right their wrong, is so extraordinary. It's so it gives such great satisfaction. You have done something so wonderful for people that I can't I can't it's hard to even put into words how rewarding that is. So um, if you have that desire, then I say go for it. I say do it, and find the support that you need around yourself. Figure out ways to cut into your schedule the time you need, and go for it. It's this. I wouldn't trade it. I would not trade my career for any other career that I can imagine. And I'll just add, when I started doing this, I said, "Oh, that's good. I'll do this for a few years, and then I'll go on to something else." And obviously, the few years has been my entire career. And I think back and say, "Is there anything else I would have rather do with my career?" And the answer is absolutely not.
I guess the phrase where there's a will, there's a way absolutely rings true. When you want to do it, you do it.
That's right. You figure out a way.